Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Live with NORML. I'm JM Pedini, the Development Director at the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. It's Friday, March 20th, 2026. You know what that means, friends? We're going to talk about this week's cannabis policy and science news, though arguably mostly policy this week. And I'm going to do my best to answer your burning questions. So let's get into it. Let's see who's here. Hey, Quinn. Quinn, you're first today. Good to see you back, friend. Hey, Brian. Good to see you as well, friend. Thanks to everyone who just joined us over on Instagram, wherever you're watching. Take a quick second and hit that like button, hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button. You might think that you are following NORML, that you're subscribed to our podcast, but you might not be, so just go ahead and double check real quick. And hey, is it really? Hey, OG Grandma, first of all, welcome back. Second, happy first day of spring to you. I'm going to pretend like I knew it was the first day of spring. Hey, Nick in Pennsylvania. Good to see you as well, friend. Hey, let me know where you're watching from. Drop a note in the comments. Tell me where you are and let me know what questions you've got. We're going to talk about a lot of state action today because there's been a lot of state action this week and a little bit from last week because we weren't able to have a show last week. But a lot of state legislatures are in full swing. Cannabis bills are moving around the country. Let's see, we are tracking 103 cannabis related bills here at NORML in our Take Action Center. It's 103 bills. That's a lot. Brian, it's the vernal equinox. Thank you for letting me know. Some cat on the internet. Great name. Hey, welcome to you. Hi, Ellie. Good to see you, friend. Hey, Shelby in Texas. Sorry about that. Ooh, elections have consequences, friends. Hi, Ina on Instagram. Ina on Instagram. Right out of the gate says, is Virginia going to sell recreational cannabis? Yes, Ina, yes. Virginia is one of the states that we'll be talking about, and adult use retail sales is one of the bills in that state that's headed to the governor's desk. Quinn. Yeah, Quinn brings up a great point. We've been talking about this for a few weeks here at NORML, a few weeks, probably months at this point. Quinn makes a great point. The prohibitionists are out in force, spreading lies and junk science. And we have a couple of pieces of refuting some of their claims this week. We added those specifically because they're being loud and whiny and clickbaity this week. So we do have a few pieces to sort of counter those narratives, to counter those narratives that are based in facts, not in feelings, on the NORML website. You can. Why does that look like that? Sorry. That's something. Okay. We have an op-ed that we pinned at the top of the NORML website, Quinn, if you haven't seen it yet, talking about excessive taxes on cannabis, and it's excessive taxes on cannabis fuel the unregulated market, because they do. When you price consumers out of the market, they go somewhere else. And we also have a compliance check piece. This one is compliance check data from legal states confirm that licensed retailers don't sell cannabis to minors. And then we talked a little bit about some other issues regarding mainstream media's new era of reefer madness and other recent publications as well. So take a look at those on the NORML website. Hey, Mouse in Minneapolis. Hey, Fred in Nova. Hey, Nick. What's the deal with SB 49? I'm going to assume this is a Pennsylvania bill, Nick. And I'm going to scroll through all of it right now. Hey, Sam in North Carolina. I'm going to see if I can find that bill in our tracker and tell you what I know. Why don't you tell me what you know about it in the meantime, Nick, while I scroll a whole lot. I don't think it's in our tracker. It's not, so tell me about it, Nick. SB 49. Yes, an act establishing the Cannabis Control Board. All right. It looks like it was on the 16th. It was in the Senate, and it was amended in Committee on Law and Justice in the Senate. So that's what I know about it, Nick. It looks like it's moving. It establishes a regulator. Seems fine to me. What do you think about it? Thank you, Kat. Kat says PA bill to create control board. Yeah, I mean, I think it's great when a state has a regulator that's specific to cannabis. So if that's what this is doing, then good job, Pennsylvania. Hey, Rob in Virginia. Good afternoon to you. Any news? Yes. We'll go ahead and get. Oh wait, I have to scroll more in Instagram. Hey, Ina. Ina says Maine is adding more tax on cannabis sales. You know, also in Maine, your state is the target of a legalization repeal. Now, they didn't qualify for 26, but they are sitting on a lot of money for that repeal effort. That we are of the presumption that they are holding that over for 2027. Nick, you're talking about the Pennsylvania bill. It says it mentions the THC ban and regulation to federal ban. Do you mean SB 49? I don't know. Sometimes people write bills and they think they have to mention stuff that is totally irrelevant. We had some of that in Virginia this year, and I was like, why are you talking about why are you talking about rescheduling in this state legislation? It's totally irrelevant. Brian says legalization is literally a pipe dream. I mean, literally, yes, it is. But you mean in North Carolina, and right, like North Carolina, you're not wrong, Brian. North Carolina, you got to focus on some really limited medical access in that state, and I say you have to focus on that because you don't have a path forward in North Carolina for really anything else. And if you, North Carolina, Texas, Idaho, Indiana, Wisconsin, and like plenty of other states as well, if you continue to elect legislators who are terrible on cannabis policy, you will get terrible cannabis policy. So when you are in a situation, when you are in a state where you don't have a ballot initiative process, and you have a legislature that's generally oppositional to cannabis law reform, you have to find the path forward. And oftentimes the path forward in these conservative controlled states is a very small, a very limited medical access bill. Not because that's the right way to do it, because that's with what you can find emotional comfort in that legislature. You can find emotional comfort around letting some people use some type of medical cannabis. And then once you start, it's a lot easier to expand. Let's use a state as an example. I'm going to go out of order, but we'll go with Georgia. Let's use Georgia as the example. I mean, Virginia is the shining example, but Georgia's a really great one. And Virginia and Georgia and Texas, and Utah all started out with the same really limited medical cannabis access legislation, and we've all gone in vastly different directions. But in Georgia, Brady, if you're around, you'll be very excited to hear this. Lawmakers have advanced legislation that would greatly expand the medical cannabis program in that state. Now, see, they did pass a really limited version of, what people will call CBD oil or low THC oil. I'm not of the opinion that it was arguably either of those things, because it says 5%, and 5% does not actually mean low in a liquid measurement. I don't know if you know, but in a liquid, it's a lot more concentrated. Anyhow, Georgia has this low THC oil, as they call it right now, medical program, and it's only extraction-based products that are available. You can only have up to 5% THC, which is still a lot, but it's going to change with this bill. And this bill will stop calling it low THC oil and instead call it medical cannabis products. And it will get rid of the 5%, and it will allow products to contain up to 1,200 milligrams per package of THC, and it will allow patients to possess a total of, I hate when they write like this, 12,000 milligrams, that's 12 grams, of THC at once. It's also going to permit formulations that can be consumed by vaporization, and it will expand qualifying conditions. Some of them that will be included are lupus, severe arthritis, severe insomnia, and then other conditions as well. I think there's a final vote required on this bill still, but it was approved by the Senate earlier in March. The House amended it and approved it just a few days later by a really remarkable measure. And in the Senate, it was 39-17. In the House, it was 138-21. I think the Senate signed off on the changes, and I believe there was one more vote that was still required as of yesterday. But this bill is going to make its way to the governor shortly. And so that's really incredible progress for Georgia. Really incredible progress. And this is a similar progress that occurred here in the state that I live in, where we had this limited program and we quickly expanded it. This is how you move the ball forward, because once you have operators in your state, they can write a check. NORML's not writing checks to lawmakers, and a NORML chapter sure isn't writing checks to lawmakers. We're just there doing the work, showing up, being the policy experts, being the advocates, moving things along. But once you have people with money who can throw down and help you move policy forward, it gets a lot easier. Ooh. Okay. Hey, Cypress and Hampton. Yeah, Brian. Brian is talking about North Carolina, and Brian says our governor is not the problem. The state representatives suck. Yes, if you elect people who suck on cannabis policy, you in fact get sucky cannabis policies. I see your question, Radhika. Don't worry. Closet lobbyist? Are you a closet lobbyist? Okay. Quinn, you bring up a great point. This is one that we're actually going to talk about this. No, we're not, because I didn't put it in the script. But since you brought it up, Quinn says when states start enacting restrictive cannabis laws, they only help fuel illegal markets. And that is incredibly true. Let me just grab that article and I'll drop it in the comments. I suspect you may have already seen it, Quinn, but our friends want to see it also. This was the top story in yesterday's NORML News of the Week. There we go, right here. And this is study related. Hey, public library user. Oh, I better take that off because that won't go. Okay, so here's the story, Quinn. I just dropped it in the comments for you. But there was a study done that looked at the impacts of marijuana legalization laws and is there any disruption to illicit markets? And the answer was yes. Investigators in this study determined that legalization was associated with a significant decrease in cannabis seizures, meaning police seizing cannabis, illegal marijuana, both in the short term and in the long term. And then the investigators go on to opine that taken together, findings support the possibility that recreational cannabis laws may help reduce the size of the illegal cannabis market. Now, of course, they're looking at it from through a different lens, not through the lens of what do consumers do, but through the lens of how is the illicit market present. And what they're seeing is that there are fewer seizures made by law enforcement. And so that, in their opinion, means the market is shrinking. Hey, John in California. Thanks for bringing that up, Quinn. Hi, blazing CPAs in Maryland. Hi, California NORML. I see you hiding in there. Thanks. Best of New England brings up LD 1847 and says that LD 1847 was final. They finalized language today in committee that would, for all intents and purposes, kill Maine medical cannabis as an industry. It will be going to the floor in the next few weeks. I don't personally know about this bill, but I am going to look to see if we have that in our Take Action Center, because that seems pretty interesting. Maine. In Maine, we're tracking 1916, and that's it. But I'll make a note for, I opened this drawer, and wow, I was expecting there to be something different in there. Right. So I'll just write it in this book instead. LD 1847. I got your note. Thank you for letting me know. All right, let me make sure I don't have anybody else's questions. We're going to talk about Virginia. But let's talk about Ohio first, because this is bad news for consumers in Ohio. We have a big, bad consumer alert coming to you. Hey, Insulin, I see you. We have a terrible news about Ohio now. Of course, we knew this was going to take effect because we've been talking about the repeal efforts underway by Ohio state lawmakers who do not like the voter-approved marijuana legalization laws. So instead of respecting the will of the voters, their constituents, the same people that elect them, right? They decided they know better and they will change the marijuana laws to be what they want, not what voters approved. And so they did. Let's talk about all of the terrible things in this Ohio. Did I drop it? Yeah, I did. Let's talk about some of these provisions that take effect today, March 20th, rolling back a number of provisions in the voter-approved law. So SB 56 was the vehicle for this. It did take effect today, and it will criminalize adults who possess cannabis, who in Ohio are in possession of cannabis products that they obtained in another state. Even if you purchased it at a dispensary legally in a neighboring state, if you have that on your person in Ohio, that is now a crime, a state crime. It also repeals statutes that protect adult use consumers from workplace or professional disciplinary action. And then also other forms of discrimination based solely upon their private use of legal cannabis, including the denial of parental rights and access to certain healthcare procedures like organ transplants. And wait, there's more. Wait, there's more. I know, it just keeps getting worse. Other changes that took effect include criminal sanctions for adults who possess or transport certain cannabis products that are not in their original unopened packaging, and places THC limits. And I don't mean controlling for serving size. I mean arbitrary percentage limits on cannabis flower and cannabis concentrates. It also, it also increases the penalties for public consumption, and it does restrict the sale of hemp-derived products, including beverages, to state-licensed dispensaries. So, yeah, a coalition of activists and businesses did try to challenge the repeal, but they didn't collect enough signatures to for a voter referendum. Yeah, some lawmakers have indicated that they might consider placing additional restrictions on the use and sale of cannabis products. So I don't know what you got going on in Ohio, but you're not electing people who care about your freedom or that are interested in respecting the will of voters. Remember, 57% of Ohio voters approved issue 2 in 2023. Hey, Young Sticks Lord on Instagram. Florida, yes, I do see Florida. Your comment about Florida, and we are going to talk about Florida as well because some not great news out of there. Hey, ADHD grower, I see you. Thanks for coming back. Someone on Instagram is asking, when is the bill expected to go across the governor's desk in Virginia? It has been communicated to the governor in Virginia, and she has until 11:59 p.m. on April 13th to communicate any vetoes. She's not going to veto these bills or amendments to any of the 10 marijuana-related bills that hit her desk. I don't know about Chelsea Handler, John, so I don't know what to say about her. Hi, Vicky. I see you. Hey, Dennis, welcome back. We did talked about North Carolina just a minute ago, but no, I don't have any North Carolina action for you yet. Looking at it right now, it's the same 2 bills that have been there, the North Carolina Compassionate Care Act and the Marijuana Legalization and Reinvestment Act, and neither of those have been acted upon since spring of last year. Billy says, I'm surprised Ohio didn't make a person have a tax stamp. Oh, you're not wrong. Thank you, Google, for doing that thing where you sign me out of my account in the middle of a podcast. Oh, and I have to verify it on my phone. Right, because I'm obviously doing something wrong using Google Drive here in my office. Thank you. Thanks, Google. All right, so we talked about Ohio. Let's go ahead and talk about Virginia. Let me drop the link in the comments for you so you can see the story as well. All right, sweeping changes are coming to marijuana law in Virginia. Now, everyone knows about the 2 adult use retail sales bills that were sent to Governor Spanberger's desk, but there were a total of 10 marijuana-related bills that NORML helped lawmakers send to the governor this year, this session. Why 10? Because elections have consequences. Every single one of these bills is a bill that we have seen before and that we have passed before. Every single one of these bills has been passed before under the previous administration. They were just vetoed. Yeah, so, well, except for the expungement, it's not really expungement, it's record sealing, and those weren't vetoed, but that's because they're just super technical. But other than that one, these are all bills that we passed before. And we made, Virginia already has some of the most progressive cannabis policies in the South, for some obvious reasons, and in the Mid-Atlantic. Now, I did see a bunch of debate about whether or not Virginia is part of the South, and it is. So that's why I said the South and Mid-Atlantic, so you all can feel heard. Okay? Wherever it is, whatever line, invisible line on the map you want to believe, got you covered both ways. The fact remains Virginia has some of the most progressive cannabis laws in this part of the country, and probably in other parts of the country as well. And that's not by mistake. However, all of the progress was really halted in 2021 when prohibitionist Governor Glenn Youngkin took office, and began vetoing things. Last year, he wildly vetoed a medical cannabis operations bill, like this just boring technical bill. He vetoed that because he has feelings about the marijuanas. Anyhow, he's gone, and so now we have to do a whole lot of work to catch up, to make our laws right, and we did. 10 bills, Governor Spanberger's desk. Is she going to sign them? Yes. I know you have questions, friends, about all the things relating to Virginia, and you're welcome to ask those now. While I wait for you, while I wait for your questions. What? While I wait for your questions. Yeah, I'm not gonna wait for your questions. I'm just gonna tell you what the topics were. So we did have the 2 adult use bills succeed. Now, it's likely that there will be some, at least technical amendments to those bills when they come back for reconvened session. Not necessarily, but I've already caught some just technical errors that we might want to correct, so it's possible that we do that. It's also possible the Spanberger administration has opinions on things like the tax rate, licensing fees, start date, and the allocation of revenues. Those are the things to really look at for, are they going to send back a bill with amendments, and what are they going to be? It's probably those really large questions that people want answered. When is sales going to start? Right now it's proposed January 1, 2027, because what's 6 more months of prohibition, right? 6 more months of propping up organized crime. Let's go. The tax rate, even at the highest, because there's a flexible tax rate for localities, even at the highest local tax still keeps Virginia cannabis sales tax under 15%, and that's only for adult use. It doesn't apply to medical. Why under 15%? To stay competitive with Maryland. Because a lot of people, particularly in the northern part of the state, go to Maryland to shop because they don't have enough medical dispensaries in the top part of the state, really in the entire state as well, overall, but real desert in the top part of the state, and a lot of people go to Maryland. So had to keep our tax rate competitive with Maryland. And right now it says 350 retail sales. I'm trying to keep an eye on whatever the heck is going on in the comments, and I'm not gonna, I can't with that, whatever that is. Nick, mind the comments for me there. Blazing CPAs on Instagram asks, have any idea how many licenses will be added? For Virginia, retail is set at 350. There are other numbers for other licenses in there as well. Keep in mind that we have a legislative session in Virginia every year, so the number's kind of irrelevant. It could be 350 this year. In 2027, we could come back and change it to 7,000. And then in 2028, we could come back and change it to 12. Because again, we have a legislative session every year. Those numbers are about emotional comfort for lawmakers. That's it. They don't have anything to do with market saturation. They don't have anything to do with economic demand, consumer demand, economic viability. It is purely emotional comfort for lawmakers. What is more appropriate is for the regulator to be able to issue licenses to meet demand. But we like feelings more than common sense policies. Anyhow, hey Hawk in Northern Virginia. Insulin licensing. Insulin says, what's the cost of entry for a license? It'll be different prices. That's not what I wanted to say. It'll be different fees for different license types. If you're curious, the word fee is mentioned 76 times in the bill. And really the only fees that are being specified at this point in time are the fees for the existing operators and existing medical operators, and which is set at $10 million. If you're curious what that $10 million per medical operator fee works out to be on a consumer basis, that's $500 per medical patient in Virginia. So if you think consumers aren't paying that price, guess again, there's only 100,000 medical cannabis patients in the state of Virginia. And they're supposed to carry $50 million in fees. Okay. Anyhow, there's a $10 million fee for existing medical operators. And then magically, if you were one of the special companies that was selling some special amount of hemp, then you only have to pay $500,000 to convert to your special license. Vicky says, we do not have the product to meet the demand. Yeah, of course we don't, because Virginia has we have 4 operators who are fully built out, and they have the ability. We have 23 dispensaries in the state of Virginia. 23. We have over 8.5 million people and 23 dispensaries. We're not Rhode Island. I don't know if anyone knows. We're not a small state, but we have 23 dispensaries. So no, of course we don't have the ability to meet the demand of the currently valued $3 billion annually illicit market. Anyhow, Brian, over 8.5 million residents in Virginia. Sam asks about Virginia. How about increasing the amount of plants? I think that is I would venture to guess that toward the end of the Spanberger administration, there's not any appetite right now. Toward the end of the administration, there may be more appetite, and I would I would say 6 is probably going to be as high as I could convince them to go. Hey, John, I don't know why you got mad at me. I can't see it, but thanks for your apology, I guess. Oh, I see. JM, do you get mad when people call cannabis a drug, even though the science is in the detail? No, I don't care. I do not care if people call weed a drug. It is. Um, how did I know you all are going to have an insane amount of questions? Christopher, I see your question. Christopher says, what is the total Virginia canopy under those 4 license holders, the existing operators? What's their allowed canopy in the bill? I have to look and see, but if we ended up settling on a number for that, we do have canopy specs for tiers 1 through 5 cultivation outlined in the bill. They can have 70,000 square feet total for across all of each of their they can have up to 2 cultivation sites. And they can have 70,000 square feet total each. So 350,000 square feet total for those 5 operators for medical and adult. Hope that answered your question. Sam, I don't think there's any world in which I can get you to 12. And Brian, you can make them as tall as you want. We don't have canopy limits or size or anything like that on personal cultivation. What is the new limit versus existing? The new limit, it doesn't. It's the canopy specified for existing operators at 70,000 takes into account what they're doing right now. I know because they had to tell during this process they had to say what they had so that we could put it in the bill. Oh, hey Chris. Chris is asking if will all the THC be available in medical? So will synthetics like THCP and THCO be allowed? No. No, we will not be, no. But there are synthesized cannabinoids in regulated markets today, like CBN, CBG, all of those are synthesized. They're not being extracted from a plant, they're being synthesized. The problem isn't if something is synthesized, the problem is that it's not properly formulated in a regulated environment, right? Now, when you get into things like HHC, THCP, and THCO, no, get out of here with that nonsense. That's yuck. No. But yeah, you can get a THCA product or a CBN, CBG, THCV. Those products would be permissible. Don't they have 12 in New York? Sam, I think they have like a mature, immature, and that's where I don't want to get into that nonsense, because this idea that we're going to let law enforcement go into people's property and measure plants I don't like that idea. That's ew. Is it good quality or ditchweed? I don't know who you're asking that of, Brian. BioTrack, no. We No. Christopher asked if Virginia is using BioTrack. No, not anymore. We were using BioTrack in Virginia, but we were using it for patient certifications. The now universal seed to sale platform in Virginia is Metric. Yes, I understand that it can be extracted, but it's not. Okay. How many cultivation licenses will be allocated? Okay, let me tell you. It's not in the section I wanted it to be. Cultivation. It's in here 78 times, so it'll be fine. Don't worry. We'll get there in just a second. There's some micro business stuff and there's some other stuff. Do we even we have to include that in here somewhere. I'm not going to pretend like I know that without hunting for it. Okay. Retail marijuana stores 350 and I don't see where the number is because they struck through everything. It used to be 450, but now there's not a number. Five. No. 5 tier 5s? Oh, that doesn't seem right either. Someone else who's watching and has read this, let me know. Those that wasn't my section of the bill to track. No, I don't want to. We're not going to do canopy for personal cultivation in Virginia, Rusty. Again, think this is when we're talking about personal cultivation. The enforcement on that is like local law enforcement. So you're looking for the easiest. We're not looking for anything technical. We're not looking for things that relate to business. We're looking at that's what the enforcement is. So they can count. That's why it's just by count. Yeah. Okay. Hey Zen Kill. Yes, Metric is a delight, isn't it? It is a good time. Hey Big Dave. Big Dave says Big Dave wishes vape lounges would come to the East Coast, Virginia and Maryland. Yeah, so that is a policy priority for Virginia for 2027 is licensing consumption venues. Alex to the second power, a lot of cultivation licenses is the answer. Okay. Anyhow, lots of stuff happening in Virginia, not only from the adult use retail legislation, but additionally, we were able to kill the same tired bill that tries to bring back the smell of marijuana as a reason to pull someone over. we carried over some clunky bill about marijuana field tests. Whatever. There's the expungement bill. We don't really have expungement in Virginia. We have record sealing. The only time something's expunged here is if you're found not guilty or the charge is dismissed. Then you can pay to have it removed from your record. But Senator Sturtevant did have another cleanup bill for the record sealing effort that's been underway for a number of years. We did pass a medical cannabis bill in Virginia that will codify where deliveries are permissible. You might remember that the previous administration tried to restrict delivery only to your house, only to where you live. And we said, no, I don't think so. So we changed that. But we also changed the way products are labeled so that, you can read it. I don't know about you, but I don't want to do math when I get a cannabis product. I don't want to do math to see how much of anything is in there, or play, let's take it home and open it up and find out what the ingredients are. That's not a good time either. I want to know right then and there what's in it. And I want to be able to read that easily. Then there's 2 bills about medical cannabis use in hospitals. Full disclosure, you can legally possess medical cannabis in the hospital today. We don't have a law in Virginia that says you can't. The law dictates that. We don't have a law that says you can't possess medical cannabis in the hospital. We didn't have was the ability for someone who works in a hospital to help a patient with their medical cannabis. So this legislation will add hospitals to the existing law that we've had on the books for years in Virginia that permits people in residential facilities like nursing homes and hospice facilities to have medical cannabis delivered to them, or to have someone there serve as their registered agent. So we added hospitals to that as well. Hospitals are big mad about it. They had to have a special work group just for them, with no representative of patients, no representative of a certifying practitioner, no one with any expertise in cannabis policy. But the hospitals are going to get together and decide on a little report they're going to give to the legislators in November about administering medical cannabis in hospitals. So that'll be fun to read, considering nobody in that conversation will have any expertise in cannabis or cannabis policy or cannabis law. Should be neat. Anyhow, those bills were real fun. Whoa, we have the parental rights bill. Finally going to protect parental rights in Virginia for consumption of authorized substances. It is broader than cannabis, but that's really what it's getting at. Right now, if you're getting divorced or there's custody litigation in Virginia, there are parents who have lost their parental rights, their ability to visit their children, simply because they are medical cannabis patients, not because they are using cannabis, not because they are doing anything wrong, but simply because they were certified. I don't know if you know, but they'll subpoena your health records in litigation, and then it will be disclosed. So whether you disclose it or not, there's always the opportunity for opposing counsel to find out that you have a medical cannabis card, and now you're a terrible person in the eyes of Virginia courts. But that's going to come to an end soon. And then there's the resentencing legislation that Sheba Williams has worked on tirelessly for years, and we're so happy that this finally is getting to the desk of a governor who's not a terrible person. But these 2 bills, Delegate Henson and Senator Lucas have the 2 bills together, and it creates a process for people convicted of certain marijuana felonies prior to July 2021. So prior to legalization taking effect. If you were convicted or adjudicated a delinquent, if you're a juvenile, for certain marijuana P-wood felonies, if you're still incarcerated or on community supervision on July 1st, 2026, then you can receive an automatic hearing to consider a modification of your sentence. High five. And then there's a nice little work group bill, and that also has some enforcement provisions in it to protect the new legal market and also to provide education resources for law enforcement so they understand what the new laws are and how to protect consumer rights and protect legal businesses while taking action against those who are violating Virginia's marijuana laws. That's all the Virginia stuff. There are other states we're going to talk about. You don't, Deborah, you don't have to do anything for us to see your comments, but when I'm talking, it's also hard to read. People can send stars on Facebook if they want to. You don't have to. I can't read your comments while I'm talking. So if you have questions, drop them now. Oh, Ellie, thank you. Ellie says Sheba Williams is my hero. Here's more stars for Sheba. I don't know what any of this stuff is about. Nick, are you still here? Thanks, Ina. It's been a minute in Virginia. All right, let's talk about, we talked about Ohio, we talked about Virginia, we talked about Georgia. Mississippi also has some good things going on there. They are sending a bill to the governor's desk that will allow greater discretion for medical providers. I don't know if it's just doctors in whatever that state is, Mississippi, but this will, there we go. Oh, right, that's right. It creates a petition process. So there's a limited list of qualifying conditions right now in Mississippi, but the Right to Try Medical Cannabis Act, which is House Bill 1152, it will permit healthcare practitioners to submit a petition to the Department of Health requesting authorization for patients who have non-qualifying conditions, but that the healthcare provider thinks they may benefit from medical cannabis access. The state officials then have 45 days to either approve or deny the healthcare provider's request. Unfortunately, all decisions are final and cannot be appealed. Whatever. The act is scheduled to take effect on July 1 of this year. It passed both chambers with veto-proof majorities. Now it is on its way to the desk of Republican Governor Tate Reeves, but again, veto-proof majority scheduled to take effect on July 1. There's also a separate bill in Mississippi that went to the governor's desk, HB 895, that extends the time that medical cannabis certification is valid for. I was going to see if I could. It eliminates the mandatory 6-month follow-up visit. And extends the ID card validity to 2 years. Oh, and looks like it does more. It looks like it also removes the THC potency limits for tinctures, oils, and concentrates. That's what it says in the summary of the bill right now. I'm going to see if I can find it. That THC part. I don't see that in here. That's what it says in this description, though. Okay. Anyhow, good things in Mississippi. Um, any news for South Carolina? Hey, Jason. Uh, so many comments. South Carolina, I don't think so. I don't think so. But I'm gonna let me check the map. Let's check the board. There were 4 bills moving in South Carolina. That one's done nothing. None of them have done anything since 2025. So no. No, 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 no. Thank you, Best of New England, for explaining more about LD 1847. It's carried over from 2025, being handled in an emergency session. It's pushing adult use requirements into medical. Okay. Pennsylvania is lagging bad. Yes, we would concur that Pennsylvania should be moving in on adult use, and they're not. But again, you can't, if you elect people who are terrible at cannabis policy, you get terrible cannabis policy. New Hampshire. New Hampshire. Let's talk about New Hampshire next. New Hampshire. This happened last week, but I want to make sure that you all know. Last week in New Hampshire, Senate Republicans voted to kill a legalization bill that had passed in the House. Because of course they did. Of course they did. It passed the House 208 to 135. So it passed the House like with a hefty margin. And then it went over to Senate. And this is House Bill 186 in New Hampshire. And it was rejected in the Senate by a vote of 15 to 9. 15 to 9. 15 of 16. There are 16 Republicans, and 15 of them voted against the bill. Fun times, New Hampshire. Let's talk about Alabama. Alabama, the medical, what do they call him? I don't think it's the medical cannabis commissioner. What do they call him? I'm going to look up his name. So you might recall that Alabama legislators approved medical cannabis legalization in 2021. Oh, right, it's 2026. But they don't have any access. Where have I heard this before? Anyhow, what is his name? He is the Alabama Medical Cannabis Commission chairman, Rex Vaughn. He says that state licensed dispensaries will become operational either late April or early May. So good news to everyone in Alabama who've been waiting for 5 years for access. Let's hope lawmakers get it done. Finish the job. Yeah, where? This person, Spora Forge, says, well, just talking about Republicans. Well, they're entitled to their beliefs, thus they voted against legalization. However, more and more Republicans are becoming informed about cannabis. Full legalization will be here. It'll take some time, but it will happen. I'm confused as to why every time we point out what members of one party did, we have to come in and make excuses for them. When you elect people to represent you, that's what they're supposed to do. And when the majority of voters have one opinion and lawmakers are like, no, then they're not actually representing you. We don't have to keep making excuses for people that we choose to represent us. It is not our responsibility to make excuses for their inability to represent us fairly. Okay? I know that hurts people's partisan feelings. And let me tell you very clearly, I don't care. We're not a partisan organization, but we will tell you who is doing what wrong and who is doing what right. And if you don't like that, this isn't a team sport. Budtenders, thank you, Quinn. Budtenders need better wages. Well, Faith, maybe they do, and I bet there's a business association that'll be interested in that. We only represent consumers here. I will, Sam. Thank you. Next up, speaking of Republicans who do bad things, let's talk about Florida. So you might recall that in Florida, for a few years now, they've been trying to get legalization on the ballot. Now, they did get it on the ballot and previously, and it didn't pass. They have to have a supermajority because they're doing it as a constitutional amendment, and that requires a supermajority of voters. And they were just shy of that. So Smart and Safe Florida, which is the campaign behind the ballot effort, was like, okay, great, we're going to try again in 2026. And the Desantis, they turned in, I'm not going to say the way I want to say it, they turned in a lot, way more signatures than they needed. They turned in way more signatures than they needed. But that's not what DeSantis wants. He doesn't want this measure to succeed for whatever reason. And so his administration threw out tens of thousands of signatures. So nope, these are invalid. And so Smart and Safe Florida litigated. And this went all the way to the Supreme Court of Florida. And the Supreme Court decided that it would not hear arguments challenging the administration's dismissal of these tens of thousands of signatures. They just said, no, we're not going to hear your arguments. They said, quote, no motion for rehearing will be entertained by the court, end quote. No further explanation was provided. Just no, we're not going to hear your argument. So tens of thousands of signatures just dismissed by the DeSantis administration. Cool. Don't forget, Florida is one of the states with the highest number of marijuana arrests per year and has some of the most punitive marijuana possession laws. Currently, possession of 20 grams or less is a misdemeanor punishable by up to 1 year in jail and $1,000 fine. 20 grams or less, up to 1 year in jail and $1,000. Over 20 grams is a felony, punishable by up to 5 years in prison. Got it. Hey, John, see your comment. Let's just show it. Let's read the whole thing. John says, I agree with you, JM. Thank you. I think this is not a partisan issue, and cannabis legalization is wanted by most. We would agree. So Republicans are missing the boat. We would agree. I hope the younger Republicans choose to be less stringent on cannabis legalization. The Republicans I've known are completely anti-cannabis use altogether, legal or not. Yes, so we do know, John, that younger people have different opinions about cannabis than old people do. So even a younger Republican is more likely to have a different opinion on cannabis than an old person or old Republican. What about, I don't know about truly voting shares, OG Grandma. Win your comment. Oh, David Jolly for governor of Florida. I don't know who that is, but great. Okay. Um, great. I didn't miss any comments. And let's see where we are. And, oh, it's 5:10. Great, because I have one story left for you. And this is about Oregon. And remember earlier we talked about those hospital bills in Virginia. This is similar legislation in Oregon. And this is legislation that would permit patients to consume medical cannabis in healthcare facilities because they don't have that. That was sent to the governor's desk in Oregon. HB 4142 requires facilities that provide either hospice or palliative care to accommodate medical cannabis use by state licensed cardholders on their premises. Facility employees would also be required to undergo cannabis-specific training before providing care to eligible patients. It was approved by a pretty wide margin, 39-3 in the House and 20-8 in the Senate. If it's enacted, the law takes effect on January 1, 2027. So good job, Oregon. Similar legislation is pending in a number of states: Colorado, Connecticut, Hawaii, Virginia, and Washington. There we go. Did we do them all? We did them all. All right. I want to tell you about events that are coming up. Philly NORML does its weekly update Wednesdays at 7 p.m. There we go. And then Suncoast NORML from Florida does its live on Sundays at 11. It's called Rotation. Montco NORML is one of our Pennsylvania chapters, and they have a lobby day coming up on March 23rd at 10 a.m. I've just put all of these links in the comments for you. If you're on Instagram, you can find them in the comments on YouTube. But also, you can find Suncoast NORML on Instagram or on YouTube at Suncoast NORML. Philly NORML, for their information, you can just go to phillynormal.org. And for the lobby day with Montco NORML, you can go to montconormal.org/events. So if you're just listening and you can't see the links, that's where they are. Make sure if you're in one of those areas, you get connected. Okay. I don't know what that is. What else? This weekend, happening right now, today and tomorrow, is the 2026 Kentucky Cannabis Conference. So if you're in Kentucky, go to that. Go to that. Should Chris Chris says, should we help support addiction services for problem solving before people complain? Be part of a solution and fund rehab services through tax? I think that most states that have, I think that most states allocate a portion of tax revenue, cannabis tax revenue, to substance abuse services. Also, let's not pretend like substance abuse services are underfunded in states. So, they were getting funding prior to legalization. Typically, when legalization occurs, there's additional funding allocated for those services, but it's not creating something new. We did that in Virginia's legislation, and we allocated way too much money toward that. Way too much. I mean that, way too much. If they were doing something helpful, that'd be great. But in this state, it used to be, prior to passing decrim, right, that you would get arrested and you would have to go to rehab, essentially. You'd have to go to education. And if where you lived didn't have education for cannabis, you just go to AA. What? Why would we be? That's one of the things that bugs me about this, is like, you've had all the time in the world to spend all the gajillions of dollars that a state gives you to provide meaningful resources for people with substance use disorders, and that includes cannabis. But when you don't even do that, but then you're showing up with your little hands out saying, give me more of your money. What did you do with the money you already got? Stop telling people who, have to go to education for cannabis that AA is good enough. That's nothing wrong with AA, but like forcing people, mandating people into faith-based programs is pretty gross. Brian, I bet it did. Sleep. All right, friends. Oh yeah, okay. I don't agree with that. People love to come in and tell us what's wrong with legalization. It's neat when you're not doing any of the work. Cool. Legalization isn't about making money for people. From our perspective, it's about providing safe access for consumers, and consumers deserve access to products that are safe, convenient, and affordable. And safe means accurately labeled, clearly and accurately labeled, and it means tested by accredited laboratories, not by you in your garage, not by your friend, not by a fake lab in another state that sends you a COA, tested by accredited scientists, right? There is no cannabis industry without cannabis consumers. And so consumer needs need to come first, not last. Yes, of course, it's an industry. There are businesses that have needs. Get in line behind your consumers. We are not here for the continuation of a grift of how to make money off of cannabis consumers while also standing on their necks and giving them terrible, terrible products. You don't deserve to be treated like a second-class citizen just because you choose to consume cannabis responsibly. And we do mean responsibly. You also don't deserve to be sold a terrible product at an inflated price, whether it's by a dispensary or a dealer. You don't deserve either of those. You deserve access to high-quality cannabis products that are safe, convenient, and affordable. Hey, Ben. Thanks, Gwen. I see your comment. Ben says, so is THCA in all cannabis? Yes. We're talking about the plant. The cannabis plant contains THC. It is present in the plant as THCA. CBD is present in the plant as CBDA. This is the acid form, tetrahydrocannabinolic acid, cannabidiolic acid. both of these acids, any of the acids that are, any of the cannabinoids that are present as acids in the plant, right? They have to be activated in order for them to plug into your receptors in the most efficient way. It's not to say that there's not some use for THCA. There's plenty of use for THCA in its acid form. But what happens with the cannabis plant is when you heat it up, that THCA decarboxylates into THC, that CBDA decarboxylates into CBD. So yes, when you see products, they're like, this is THCA flower, that's weed. Because when you go to a state licensed dispensary and you buy cannabis flower, that's the same thing because it's in an acid form until you decarboxylate it. Like, yeah, a little tiny bit of it will decarb during the curing process, but that's not what's in the flower. What's in the flower is THCA until you heat it up. So yes. THCA has really shown efficacy for tissue healing in GI disorders. You're welcome, Ben. Sam on something today. Yeah, okay. Hey, Garrett, good to see you. All right. Quinn's got jokes, and Quinn says, tell them your favorite weed, JM. I almost forgot how to say my own name. Quinn, thanks so much for asking. My absolute favorite cannabis is legal cannabis. We've got jokes. All right, friends, this has been a blast, but it's almost 5:30, and this is probably one of the longest shows we've ever done. But you all great questions today. Great questions. Tomorrow, Saturday the 21st, is when NORML's weekend weed read comes out. So NORML News of the Week comes out on Thursdays. The weekend weed read comes out on Saturdays. You can get them both for free by subscribing to NORML at norml.org/subscribe. Make sure you check the weekend weed read box so you always get it. I know we made it here for 2 420s, right? 420 on the East Coast and 420 in whichever one comes next. Central? Wherever. You're welcome, Chris. Hey, also, share this. Please share this. Please make sure you like, follow, and subscribe wherever you're watching. If you're following us on Facebook, make sure you're following us on Instagram. If you're following us on Instagram, make sure you're following us and you're subscribed to us on YouTube. We also have a Substack. We're on Spotify. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, X, Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok. I was looking at a list at the top and then I forgot where I was. I said Blue Sky, Quinn. We're everywhere. Please follow us everywhere. It's free and you can share this. Help us reach more people, right? More people deserve to know about the work we are doing here at NORML to protect the rights and advance the freedoms of responsible cannabis consumers. It's just us. We're the only people who do this work. We're the only organization that is dedicated solely to the interest of cannabis consumers. Please help us continue representing you and advocating for your rights and your freedom. Join NORML at norml.org. No, John, we're not on Tumblr. Please, I don't want to go back in time. Yeah, we're on Reddit occasionally. No, not Threads, Radhika. I'm only one person, okay? All right, friends, this has been great. I love hanging out with you all. Let's do this again soon, okay? I'm JM Pedini, the Development Director here at NORML. And as always, I'll see you back here next time. Bye-bye.